Anthony Melchiori, day 2 here at the Innovation Studio.
I just saw you moderate a panel. You get better every single time.
Aw, thanks. Now you ruined my jokes. Damn it.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live. Of course, you got me, Glenn Hausman, you got Anthony Melchiori over there, and we're here for day 2 over at the Blackfire Innovation Lab, where we've been having a great time, Anthony. It's been so cool, watching these people in the shark pool competition and hearing about all this innovation in hospitality.
It's really, interesting to listen to people talk about technology.
Yep.
Because some people get it, and there's some people so down the rabbit hole because they've spent so much money and so much research that you got to stop and get off of that path because it ain't going to work. But you're so inundated because you've spent years doing it, but technology has just kind of advanced, in front of you, and you're still catching up. So I found it fascinating. But everyone we met today is right there. Is right on the precipice. Is right listening to the consumers. So it's a lot of fun.
I'll tell you one. Who else is listening to consumers out there? And of course, I'm talking about the investment community and our good friends over at Radisson. They've got great brands: Radisson, Radisson Blue, Radisson Red, which you've seen right here on No Vacancy Live. That Miami property is something. Park Plaza, Country Inn and Suites, all of these great brands. If you're looking to invest in hotels, why not invest in a Radisson property? Go check out our friends over there. RadissonHotelsAmericas.com/en-us/development. Ask for Phil Hugh and tell them Glenn and Anthony.
They're coming up with a new hotel.
Oh, yeah. What's that going to be?
Radisson Mauve.
I like that. For people who really can't commit to vibrant colors.
What's so funny? It just Glenn Hausman just happened to me. I'm in my head, and I thought of that joke like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait to get it out.
Oh,
and you do that all the time.
Dude.
You think of it, and you sit there with it.
And sometimes the moment passes.
And you do it anyway.
I try, but sometimes it gets too far, and then I can't even make it because then it'll just seem weird and out of context.
Wait,
not that I'm not weird and out of context. All right. Enough about ripping me one. Let's talk to Robert Rippee. Sorry, Robert. I had no choice on that one. Executive Director, Blackfire Innovation Hub, and of course, professor at the University of Las Vegas. Doctor, great to see you, sir.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Blackfire. It's good to have you here.
So good to be here. This is really exciting that you guys opened up this facility. Now, I understand it opened up just prior to the pandemic, but it's almost like right now you're cruising on all cylinders. What is the Blackfire Innovation Lab, and how did it come together, sir?
So Blackfire Innovation is kind of an incubator accelerator for innovation and technologies around hospitality, gaming, entertainment. It's located at UNLV's Harry Reid Research and Technology Park, which is this 100+ acre parcel we're sitting on.
Right.
And it's an entity that kind of allows a major research university like UNLV. Universities are always close to the private sector, but when you open research parks, you get really close.
Right.
You get intimately involved in their problems. You work on tech together to try and find solutions, to test it, research it, whatever it takes to kind of accelerate new ideas into the marketplace, specifically in this case around hospitality and gaming and entertainment.
Right. And why is Vegas such an important place for this innovation hub to be?
Two reasons. One, just a few miles away from here is the Strip, home to some of the largest hospitality companies in the world.
By the way, you've got an amazing view of the entire Strip from one area.
You got to see it at night. It's like killer. I'm going to sleep in my office sometime just so I can wake up to it. The second thing is, and this is an important point, especially for the tech companies that partner with us in facilities like this, is that Las Vegas is also the destination for the trade shows for nearly every industry vertical that you can think of.
Right.
From construction to retail to hospitality. They have an annual conference here. And
hey, who could forget the World of Concrete, the first big conference back post pandemic,
huge,
right?
In many ways. But it gives the opportunity for those companies not only to work on development of tech here, but to showcase it when their customers come to town. Mm-hmm. So it's like Las Vegas is got the perfect convergence of all of these factors to make a facility like this, viable and
it's amazing to me that this facility is just now opening and getting started, because it seems like this would be something that would have happened a long time ago. But let me ask you a question. I was saying before you came on, there's sometimes you talk to a company that's innovating and that they're kind of missing the point, because when they started it 2 years ago or 3 years ago, kind of the community has passed them, but they're so involved financially that they keep going. Have you seen that?
Yeah, that happens quite a bit, actually. That's a very common trend, and it's driven a lot by the way companies operate, right? So capital is dedicated to a project, and that project and dedication of capital is based on projections that they made about whatever it is they're working on. So they've got a commitment made to their board or the CEO to stick with it, to prove that what they said, their theory, will hold. So, it's hard to give up. It's hard to say, well, it didn't work. Sorry. So we're going to pivot and try something else. As opposed to an environment like this where we freely can pivot. We can say, look, we tried this, it didn't work. So we're going to pivot it based on what we learned and try a new path, or, we're going to go after something else.
What has surprised you the most in the last, say, 6 months to a year in technology?
I think one of the most surprising things in this kind of, and I'm going to use the term for the conversation, post-COVID world, has been the acceleration of interest in innovation. Everyone now has a chance to look at everything that they've done and the processes and the methods they used and say, hey, is there a better way? Is there something that's changed now that we can try?
Well, I know from late night TV, there's got to be a better way. So it makes a whole lot of sense. See, Anthony, I didn't have to wait too long for that joke over there. Sorry, Robert. Go ahead.
No, I just think that it's created an opportunity. And Las Vegas is a great example. Never in the history of this town did it close. And it literally shut down, for a couple of months.
It had a physical toll on me the first time I heard Vegas closed. I imagine it on a lot of people. I literally was out of breath. I was just like, I felt like the world was ending. Like Broadway in Vegas closed. I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself.
Anthony, that first Sunday after it closed, I rode my bike
down
Las Vegas Strip.
How crazy was
that?
On
a Sunday morning in the middle lane.
And I would imagine it was emotional.
It was really, it was, because I worked there and I knew what that meant. And I looked at plywood and the doors and I saw the security guards at the gates closed. And it was eerie, but it was sad because you knew what that represented.
And it's almost like seeing a body collapse or die, because these buildings are built to function 24/7. It's like, if it's not pumping, it's like a heart that's not pumping. It's like, it was just horrifying.
Well, how many people do we know that had to go room to room turning on and off the water? And
I thought that was funny.
Just that alone. But I want to talk a little bit more about innovation and stuff. And one of the things that I find interesting, innovation adjacent, is you're also doing like co-working here as well, which I think kind of gets people together and kind of creates that mood to innovate, right?
Well, those go together.
Yeah.
If you are driving innovation, you are going to push entrepreneurs into the space.
Right.
And too often entrepreneurs lack the capital to go out and lease an office space for a year or 2 years. They've got enough to get them by enough runway for the next 90 days. So they need space that they can afford, because they've got to work. They've got to bring potential investors in. They've got to bring customer groups in to do customer discovery, and they've got to develop product. And so they need a professional environment to do that. Not only that, but in an environment like this, you're surrounded by this industry. You're surrounded by companies that are involved, like Caesars and MGM and Boyd, that are through these halls every day. And then the tech company partners that are here. You might have a question for Intel about an application of an Intel product. They're here. You get a chance to go up and say, hey, can you help me with this? So co-working in an environment like this is extremely important, because it gives the place where those young entrepreneurs, I don't use the word young meaning age, meaning new entrepreneurs, a place to call home, a place to kind of set their stake in the ground and scale.
And it's a great place to know if your technology is going to work, because you'll know in Vegas in about 30 seconds if the consumer wants it.
Absolutely. And one of the beauties of what we have built here at Blackfire is we have built an emulated lab of that entire experience right behind me over here. We have hotel rooms, we've got food and beverage operations, we've got a casino floor, we have entertainment space. We've kind of emulated the whole thing in a lab setting where we can control all those variables to de-risk it before you actually.
And to make it really authentic, they empty everybody's wallets on the way out, so you can really feel the full casino experience. So I love that. It's really set up for interacting and sharing ideas. And I want to go back to what you said first about, failing and failing quickly and reorienting. How does everybody kind of come together to help each other find success individually with their companies? How does that practically play out?
Well, it works out in a couple of ways. And from a practical sense, it takes a lot of mentorship. And in innovation environments like this, that's one of the most important things that you can do is provide mentorship and experts who can come in and help. A different set of eyes, maybe a set of eyes that are more experienced or know some of the pratfalls of putting this out in front of live customers. And one of the great things, going back to Anthony's question earlier about being in Las Vegas, is we have an abundance of these mentors, people who've worked here for decades who are saying, yeah, you know what, I'll help. Let me help them out. I can probably help them in this particular aspect. And so it helps them to understand that when you failed or something didn't work out like you expected, there may be a causal factor. There might be a good explanation, and this person is going to help you find it, and then you can reorient and start again.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense to me, Anthony. You look at you.
So what is the next big thing?
That's where I was
no one saw esports coming. No one saw, a lot of technology. It just happened, right? Amazon seemed like it happened overnight. Uber Eats, Uber, it all seemed like it just happened so quickly. What is the guest looking for? And I said this before on the panel, what the guest wants and what the hotelier is putting out there from a technology standpoint, I would say a lot of times, I'd say the majority of the times, it doesn't sync up.
Right. Yeah.
So have we learned our lesson? And what is the thing that if you had $1 billion and all the time in the world that you would invest your time in?
Fascinating question. I think if I were trying to boil this down to one answer, it's an experience. You come to Las Vegas already, have for decades, for an experience that many people felt you can't get anywhere else. And arguably you can get it other places, parts of it. But experience is what drives us today, particularly after coming out of a period where we were denied experience. We were locked up in our homes. And the best experience we had was watching and consuming media online. And now we're craving this. And as you move demographics and you get younger, it gets even more compelling and more powerful as a motivator, is to give me an experience that I'll remember, that'll impact me. And that's connected to things that I like. We talk about the experience of music today. And I use this as an example in one of my classes. And I say, well, describe for me what, one of the major music festivals here. What is that? Is that a concert? Is that, what is it? No.
Well, Life is Beautiful isn't just a concert, right?
Yeah. How would you describe it?
Yeah.
It's an event. It's an experience. Yeah. It's food. It's costumes. It's socializing with my friends. It's Instagramming my experience there. So my other friends will see it.
But it's also street art and food.
Keep going.
It's all of that
those
kind of
stuff. And I think, Glenn is a very, very big Fish fan.
Yeah.
And I think what you just said is why Fish was so successful.
Right, because they created a community.
Right.
And I feel like I share something with other like-minded people within that community. And when I meet those folks, I was here for the shows over Halloween, and you'd go and you'd hang out and everyone was instantly friends because you had something in common with each other.
So that socialized aspect of the Fish experience is not a concert.
Right,
it's a social experiment that you engage with and that provides you with pleasure. And that's what I'm talking about to your question. I am thinking about what do those experiences look like? Are they VR? Are they in the metaverse? Are they AR driven, empowered? Do they include music and food and gaming all mixed together?
Right.
I think it includes all of that. I think that's the experience we're moving towards, is this highly almost chaotic world of hypersensitive, activities kind of bombarding us.
I thought you were just saying everybody. I thought you were going to say everyone's hypersensitive. Which
I really think it's really things that are not easily duplicated.
Yes.
If you really want to break it down,
yes, that's great.
Things that aren't easily duplicated. We've all been through the Wynn,
right?
And there's been a lot of hotels in Vegas to come and go, and it hasn't been duplicated. It hasn't. I love Resorts World. I love Virgin. I love MGM. I love Aria. I love them all. No one's duplicated the Wynn. That is singular. That there is no other hotel that makes me feel the way that hotel makes me feel. And I think that when people really think about innovation, they have to think about people want something they can't get anywhere else. One of the things that we love envy vacations, right? We go on a vacation. Last night I was talking to somebody and they were talking about Mallorca. They were talking about Madrid. They were talking about Finland. They were talking about all the countries I've been to. And I felt like everybody else kind of started to disappear in the conversation. And I started to kind of push up because I've been to all these places. So people want those experiences that a lot of people don't have, a lot of people can't get. And that to me is lost when people are thinking what guests want. This is what they want. They want this. They want a kiosk. They want that. They want, the Oculus. They want all this stuff. They want what you just said. Make life simple and give me something my friends can't get.
I think this, actually, this is almost what you almost said, almost paraphrases what, kind of Jobs' philosophy.
Right.
Is you're never going to learn what they want from the surveys. You'll learn how to make incremental improvements and fix problematic areas in the surveys, but they can't tell you because we're kind of speaking in abstract terms about experience and how they move us. And, Anthony, you're talking about how the experience that Wynn moves you feel it, right? You have this love for it. That's not a physical thing that you put on a spreadsheet and you design and say, here you go. That comes from, emotional connection and understanding. Yeah. A lot of this can be empowered by technology in the future, and it rapidly is moving in that direction. But that unique experience that we value so much is the ultimate value proposition.
And I'll give you an example. When I was at the Wynn during the height of the pandemic, when you walk through a lot of the hotels, you saw the temperature reading. You were stopped.
That's right.
At the Wynn, they did exactly what they always do. They made you feel something without knowing
that's right
what was going on. Tell them about
because I remember I was here in June of 2020 when the casinos reopened, and we were very blessed to get into Bellagio when the doors first opened. And then later that night, I toured a bunch of the properties to see what their protocols were. I walked into Wynn, and I'm like, weird, they didn't do the temperature check. And I'm like, let me figure this out. And then I went back and looked, and they were doing it, but in such a non-invasive way that it didn't interfere with the experience they were trying to create, which was trying to get you to forget about COVID as much
and a
as
lot
possible.
of hotels I can see during the pandemic, a lot of companies would be like, okay, we need the temperature check. We need this, we need that. So let's go do that. But no one was in the room saying, but what is that experience like for our consumer? Well, we don't care because we just want to save their lives. We want to make sure we don't have a problem. That's understandable. And yes, thank you. But why would you want to lose the feeling of why people come to your hotel?
That's a great example. Actually, it goes to the theory behind how I teach my class, which we start with.
And which class is that?
This is an innovation lab here at UNLV. So we start with analyzing the problem. So let's take the problem of temperature measurement of guests coming in a building. So we know, we do need to measure it. We know what we're looking for. We know that there's technology that easily enables us to measure. We know there's going to be certain factors that affect that may give false positives, right? Like it's hot here in the summertime, so it might be warm outside and somebody's been walking. But there's another problem set, the experience that Anthony was talking about. We have an expectation of a certain level of, experience that not intruded upon, especially in the type of hotels you're talking about, where we feel that, you're not intruding on me, but you're doing it anyway. Okay, I like that a lot because I'm here to enjoy myself. And I don't want to be inconvenienced. I don't want to feel like I should be concerned because you're doing something really out of the ordinary. So that's one of the factors that comes into the problem analysis, is saying you have to maintain what this experience is while you're doing these other things. Now, what sort of experience or technology and process can you put in place that does all of that?
Right.
And to Anthony's example, you create a temperature measurement system that blends into the background, that passively detects your temperature without having you stop and wait in the line while I hold it.
And I really believe we were talking about this before, that reason Uber became so successful so quickly was because I didn't have to go in my pocket for my credit card.
Right.
That simple little task of finding cash or a credit card bothers me.
Just as apparently the ride ends, you leave.
Awesome. Right. Apparently it bothers everyone. Yeah. And same thing with Amazon. When was the last time I spoke to a customer rep at Amazon? Never.
Right.
Okay. I can literally make a purchase in less than 15 seconds. So they figured it out that convenience comes first, technology comes second to the consumer.
Right.
When you're building your business, technology obviously comes first. But if you're not completely consumed with the way the consumer is taking that technology, you're just going to have an outdated project.
There's an interesting phrase that I use that I borrowed from Y Combinator. Y Combinator, you know, is probably one of the most prolific accelerators in the world, located up in the Bay Area. And they use a term called solution in search of a problem.
Yeah.
Solution in search of a problem is a technology that hasn't been fully baked to understand what problem is it really solving.
Right. It sounds cool,
factors.
But what's it for?
What's it for? You know, I have some examples I use in my class. I'm sitting in my office over there. I bring out and everyone goes, wow, that is amazing. What does it do? I'm like, nothing. It's beautiful. And it spent hundreds of thousands of dollars developing the technology.
Right.
But does it achieve some breakthrough in guest service or in the guest experience?
Right.
Not really. And so, you know, that goes to this saying of, if you really understand the problem, all facets of the problem, the solution empowered by tech can be.
No, and if you look at the pandemic and what technology has done to the human being, right? You have Zoom, you have microphones, you have what we're using right now, all this technology, but it's been separated by this thought that I need to go to an office, I need to work in a company, I need to be in a warehouse. And then what the pandemic said, no, the technology's been here for us not to do that.
Right.
When it's possible to stay home. And now we're having this convergence where, you know, the employer is like, no, you got to come to the office. And the employee's like, no, I really don't. I prove to you, I don't. I'm more productive. I'm more satisfied. My kids love me more. My husband loves me more. My wife loves me more. And I am more productive than I've ever been. But the technology was there. We weren't using it because we were set in our old ways of, you got to get up, you got to commute, you got to get up, you got to commute. And now this has changed. The pandemic has made the technology really come into the forefront to saying, you know what, this is going to change our behavior now.
Yeah, the event itself, you know, caused this kind of disruption, of course, but that disruption took technologies that predated the pandemic. Zoom,
that's what I found fascinating.
You know, these video chats have been around for a long time. But all of a sudden they became heightened importance because we needed a tool and they were readily available.
And easy to use and
easy
intuitive.
to use. Right. But the end result has been, you know, of course, these companies are now very successful, but also, as Anthony has said, they've kind of given us a chance to reevaluate what those work roles mean and how they're defined. And there are people who said, you know what, I am actually more productive working in my home environment than I was in the office, where you were paying for office space for me to sit in my office or my cubicle and do the exact same thing.
Right.
And companies discovered that, well, you know, there's probably some cost savings in that for us then, you know, and you're a happier employee.
And you cut out the noise. The time you get to work, you say hello to your friends, you talk about the football game, you go to the water cooler, you get your coffee, you sit in it's 10 o'clock. Then you go, hey, you want to go to lunch? It's 12 o'clock. Oh, I got to get on the metro at 4:30. I'm going to leave a little early. And you're gone. You did 4 hours worth of work. When you get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you're with your cup of coffee in front of the screen. People are working more now than they've ever worked. I mean, everybody I know, including myself, I never stop working now.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, things have changed so much. But Anthony, I used to joke around that people in offices, if they would do one or two things a day, right? But that no longer is going to cut it. People can just simply get more done by sitting in front of their computer with their cup of coffee. You're absolutely right.
Technology is supposed to make us more comfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Isn't that what we're supposed to do, Doc?
Yeah.
It's supposed to make us more comfortable.
Yeah, I agree. Robert, I want to talk a little bit about casinos and casino gaming in particular. We're sitting here in Las Vegas, a city that was completely built on the almighty gaming dollar. But society has shifted, and as people are starting to change, computers is such a part of our lives that I think millennial age people and Generation Z, I'm afraid in particular, think about casino gambling a little bit differently. I know a lot of the companies out there are trying to find out how to engage future gamblers more. They tried with skill-based slot machines, which I thought were going to take off. They didn't really in that sense. What are the casinos thinking about in terms of innovating to get more people to drop more money at the tables? And how are you folks here thinking about that and trying to push those things forward?
So great question. And I'd say that, first of all of the companies are concerned about this.
Yes.
Everyone is thinking about next generation of customers and future generations of customers.
Right.
And how do you get a deeper level of engagement when behaviors are changing?
Yeah.
It's a fairly well understood theory that different generations behave differently.
I'll say, doctor, I mean, I was here for 6 nights to go to those 4 fish shows. I may have put $20 in a slot machine. That's it, So
that is an example of the behavior that could be changing. It isn't changing today.
Right.
And slot machines and table games are still very, very popular and still.
Yeah, but I'm worried 10, 15 years from now.
A decade from now, it could be different. And we know that because there's a difference between I like the point that you highlighted about skill-based gaming, about playing passive game versus playing active games. In the millennials, we have the first generation that actually grew up playing very active video-based games.
Right.
And I use this example a lot because it's very relevant to everyone. And it didn't start with the Nintendo that they had at home. It actually started in school. Educational psychologists learned in the 1980s that using game-based learning was a very effective way for children to learn history, science, whatever. So games like Oregon Trail, which when I asked that question earlier, everybody said,
is that the one where if you screwed up, you died on the Donner Pass?
You got it. Well, maybe not.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But it was like back when computers only had green screens and all the graphics created with keyboard strokes and stuff.
And what you did was you played this game, making your way along the Oregon Trail, and you would fail and you'd regenerate, start over, learn a little bit better, and eventually you would accomplish the game and win or succeed in that case. What did that do? Well, you had fun playing a game, but you learned history. So that active participation via a video game, Oregon Trail is a video game used to teach history. And so we have the first generations that grew up in those environments in our educational institutions, and henceforth, their preference towards gaming is a very active style of gaming, a game where they influence their outcome in the game. To your point, then, it's a passive style of gaming where we sit back and wait for the result. They're less interested in it than they were. That's it.
Yeah.
Less they're interested than they were in the past. So
did you do that or did Suzanne do that?
Suzanne's not here. It was all me, baby.
Nice magic trick. So we have generations that, for them, active gaming, participant gaming, skill gaming, it's how they play games. And there isn't a gaming company in the world doesn't know that. It's no secret anymore. And so they've got to figure out, how do we evolve to provide them products that they're going to like, while at the same time, to what we were talking about earlier, making them very experiential, right? Not just sitting in front of a 2-dimensional screen on a flat panel pushing some buttons, but immersing me in the game. So I'm like involved in it, like people who are in esports are. I can't think of a better example of loyalty than esports players. They love this. They play it every day. They watch it. They consume it. So all of those are factors in diagnosing that problem that are going to lead to the result of, where does casino gaming go in the future?
Sports betting scares me. Where are we going? I'm not a sports bettor, probably never will be. Don't understand it. Don't understand how to do it. But where are we with sports betting? It seems like it's taking over the world, and it seems like, I don't know. I'm just concerned about it, and I don't know why.
Anthony, you should be, because now Disney is getting into sports gambling. I mean, ESPN, but yeah.
But so
Doctor?
Where are we with sports betting in Vegas? Like, is it just taking over everything?
It hasn't taken over everything here. I think obviously the companies, the integrated resort companies, recognize that there is a new potential, revenue channel in sports betting because it's expanded, right? Prior to the Supreme Court tossing out the Wire Act and PASPA, it was only allowed in 3 states. And they said, no, that's not fair. You know, it's up to each state to decide if they want it or not. So now over 30 states said yes. Why? Well, there's tax revenue involved, so that's pretty hard for them to stay away from. So now you went from a market that was tiny. I mean, sports betting had been in Nevada since I got here. It was there, but it wasn't a really big deal.
Right. It was like the only place really in the country you could do it. I mean, theoretically you were allowed to in Delaware and one other state, Montana, according to Montana, but they never really fully leveraged that.
Right. Right. So it was this thing you could do if you're really into betting on sports, you could do it. But to the companies, it was like, yeah, it's kind of the asterisk over here. We focus on table games and slots, and that's our deal. And all of a sudden, the scale of the opportunity grew exponentially. To your question, Anthony, it's just now 30 states.
Right.
You can do this. So that scale, millions, tens of millions of people who like it. Right. Want to bet on their team, whether it's emotionally, because I went to school there and I think they're going to win the national championship, which they will. You know, that's an emotional connection and why I do it. And now it's gotten so big because it's available in so many different places. I don't think this is a global phenomenon. This is a North America, United States.
I think you're absolutely right. And I'm a Jets, Mets, and Nets fan, so I've personally learned never bet on your team.
And once you say you're a Mets fan, you don't have to say you're a Jets fan,
right.
because we're all the same. Because I'm a Mets fan, so I'm right with you.
Yeah, right.
So you have to like all those teams. The underdogs, we're like underdogs.
Goodness,
but do you think it's going to? And this is kind of a different question and bigger question, but is it going to really affect sports? Like, is it going to get to the point where? I mean, people are making changes in the way they coach or the way they play or because of sports betting.
Well, you know, human nature is human nature, and each of us makes decisions based upon different factors. You know, I like to say that, you know, I think the industry is heavily regulated, first of all. So you have a lot of people who are watching. Let's take Nevada, for example. We've got probably the most rigorous and robust gaming regulation system ever devised. They watch and they are very careful because their number one interest is the player, that it's fair,
right,
that it's honest, that there's, you know, no malfeasance of any kind in all of the possible ways. And I think they do a fantastic job. So you've got a lot of regulators watching. So, you know, the instant something pops up, you know, I think there are a number of people who are like, okay, on it. It's not going to happen again, and immediate action is taken. And that's what I think is the answer to your question is I believe in the regulatory process. I think they do a very thorough and they're very robust about it. And I believe that they will put as many safeguards in place as humanly possible. And eventually, through the use of technology, to watch for things. And when they see them, they'll act.
And I think the casinos are going to be doubling down on the sports betting. You look at what Derek Stevens and architect Paul Steelman did with developing Circa downtown. Yeah. You know exactly what I was talking about. That redefines the whole sports gambling entertainment experience.
They kind of redefined downtown as well.
Oh my God, yeah.
Beautiful property. Really did a fantastic job down there.
Everybody knows going downtown now. It's like that didn't happen 5 years ago.
Well, you don't have to spend $25 on a single shot cocktail, you know, and it's a good fun atmosphere down there.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it diversifies the atmosphere down there. You know, I think before it had a very defined experience and a lot of people really enjoyed that, but now it's got more.
Right.
They've added to it. They haven't taken away from anything. They just created a new level of experience, right? Mm-hmm. It's that big stadium swim is just amazing to look at.
Yeah.
So when did you fall in love with technology?
Oh gosh. Hard to say. Decades ago.
When you were playing Oregon Trail?
Probably before that. I had an Apple IIc computer.
Oh my goodness.
You know, I should have kept it.
Yeah, no doubt. You could have retired.
Bad idea. But, you know, it has always been a part of me, you know, through my military career, my hospitality career. I've always been like, yeah, let's try that. That looks great. Let's go see what it does and experiment with it, kind of push the envelope a little bit.
Well, see, I wanted to ask you about your military career.
And we're going to have to get on that. Hold on one second. Let me just show a picture of Stadium Swim over here, which is pretty
Nice.
awesome.
That's hard to follow.
Yeah, it's all right. Go ahead, do that. Ask those last questions because we're going to have to switch over to talk to some students in a couple of minutes.
No, that's great. I love that picture. Bring that picture up again.
I will.
Now explain to people what they're seeing.
So you are at the main pool area at Circa, and you are looking across the pool area at this, probably the biggest LED screen you've ever seen in your life. And obviously the football game on there looks like a Browns and somebody else. And so anywhere you're sitting there, in fact, in many of the rooms, you can look down on this pool and you can see that. And so there's gaming out there. But if you just want to hang out at the pool and you've got this entertainment on this massive screen, it just creates this vibe out there that's unlike any place else that I've seen. I mean, you can go to a pool and you lay out there and there's music and, and you have some cocktails and it's fun. But there is like this constant, we were talking about that earlier. Mm-hmm. There's an experience. There's experience happening there, visual. You can hear it. There's food and beverage. There's people. You're socializing. You're taking pictures. You're posting them. Yep. So it's they've created an experience out there that includes sports betting, but it's not just sports betting.
But they also create an experience inside too. I love the indoor sports book here. Wow. I think it's my favorite sports book in the world.
It's visual overload. It's like you can see it every game all simultaneously.
And it's 3 stories high.
It's massive.
You know what's great about places like that? You look at it and you're like, it's visual overload. But when you're sitting in a place like that and you're into a game, you really don't see anything else. Well, you're just really seeing that one screen and you kind of, you just get lost in that game. So I think they're doing it on an entirely different level. And what I really love is I love when people, venues get the names right? Whether it be a company or be a venue. It's like Stadium Swim. It tells you exactly what it is. You're in a stadium, you're swimming. I love it. So getting back to the reason I asked you the question about technology is because I knew somehow you would hopefully bring it back to the military. And as an Air Force guy, as a military guy myself, and I poured coffee for a living, when I found out you were a fighter pilot, I was in love with you anyway, then I really fell in love with you. Because as far as I'm concerned, fighter pilots are the baddest people on the planet. And I would imagine being a fighter pilot, that you were at the forefront of technology. It was all about technology.
And what kind of jet did you fly?
So I flew a lot of different kinds of planes. I started off in surveillance aircraft, ended up testing a brand new aircraft as my last tour.
Wow. Can you tell us what that aircraft was? It sounds like you can't, but I have to ask
It wasn't
anyway.
So much the aircraft because it was existing aircraft, but it was the technology that was in it that was revolutionary.
Right.
Like decades ahead of its time. In any case, to your question, we were involved with a lot of what we thought was very advanced technology, especially in my last tour. We're like, wow, I can't believe people actually made this stuff. Right. This is like science fiction. And what it did for me more than anything, I think it gave me an appreciation for the power of thought. That somewhere there was an engineer who imagined this and then built it. And that they created this technology that was life-changing. It was revolutionary that we never even dreamed existed. And it gave me that appreciation for what a compelling and powerful nation we have, that we're able to do things like that. Yeah, and it confirmed in me what I'd always known, that technology changes things in very big ways. But that was an extraordinary experience for me in that I saw it at a very advanced level. And I appreciated it. I probably took a lot away from it too.
And being able to see what the future holds, like in the military, think about the stealth program. I was at the stealth base, and that stealth program technology was built in the 70s. But when it came out in 90, we were like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing we've ever seen. But they created it, I think, in 1971.
Yeah, that's an extraordinary story. That's about the same time I was doing things in the military. And we were looking at the technology that was coming out then. That was designed in the 50s. It's like 2 decades ahead. That's where it's so far ahead. We can only imagine right now what is being developed. And I think that the beauty of that is that those technologies also find application in the private sector, right? So the advancements in semiconductors and processing technology and quantum computing, yes, they have applications in the defense industry, but they find their way into the private sector, and they help us here as well.
Beautiful, Doctor. This has been such a great time talking with you. Now we have 2 students here that are going to join us. Have you been working with these students?
Yes, I happen to know these 2 over here very, very well.
So how about this? You want to?
You're thinking about exactly what I'm thinking.
Go ahead.
Let's bring them all together.
You think we can do that? All right. If you guys could just come on in here. We got 2 microphones.
Why don't you
set up.
take this one? I'm going to be sitting near Glenn.
You sure?
Yeah.
You actually going to sit near me?
You guys.
This is a dream come true. I've been hoping that one day he would sit next to me. So this is big news. All right.
I'll just kind
All right.
of sit right here and stay out here.
Yeah, kind of come a little bit closer. I'll move my mouse over here. All right.
No, can you go over there?
No, you could either just come closer. Make sure you're squared up. You got that microphone there. You could put close to you, and if you're comfortable, you could take off the mask. If not, it's okay. We get it. All right, Doctor, why don't you introduce them to us?
So these are 2 extremely talented students from my innovation lab, Jaslin and Silver, sitting over there at the end of the table. They are actually in study week right now, and they present their final project next week. They presented their idea at the midterms of my class and scored so well that they were lauded by the judges, which were from one of the major companies here in Las Vegas.
All right, Anthony's gonna get them set up. So, what's that? Yeah. All right. Great. Okay. I love it. Silver, don't knock yourself out of the side of the screen. Move, scooch in a little bit. Pretend you guys like each other. There you go. All right. All right. So, Robert, how cool is it that you've got students that learn so much that they innovate and create new ideas?
So you know what? They already had it in them. Yep. These are 2 very talented students. They're very bright. I was the guide. I didn't have to do a whole lot of teaching with their team. They got it. They jumped on a problem. They analyzed it in incredibly good detail. They did a terrific job of researching it, and now they've got a really good idea.
Jaslin, Silver, let's bring you guys in on the conversation. Tell us a little bit about what your idea and what it's all about, and pretend that we don't know, that we didn't just have a whole session on it, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, Jaslin, you want to start?
Yeah, so we actually presented at this conference today about our idea. And when we were trying to brainstorm problems for our project in this class by Dr. Rippee, we were really hungry. And we just had...
Literally.
No, literally. We were so hungry when we were trying to brainstorm ideas for what problems we could potentially solve. And we thought, man, we're such indecisive people. And this happens all the time, every day. When I'm with my friends, when I hang out with my family, I have a tough time trying to figure out what restaurants I want to eat at or what food options that I want to have. So I'll pitch it to Silver to explain more.
Yeah. So kind of taking the idea that the problem really is the problem that we're trying to address is choice overload.
Right.
And we wanted to cater that to food and beverage. And we're like, well, these platforms that currently exist, they kind of do their job, but I got to search really hard.
Right. Silver, let me take it back to a great point that you guys made at the beginning of your presentation. You had this book out there. As a matter of fact, I used to be an adjunct professor at NYU in hospitality. And one of the books that I would teach is The Paradox of Choice. And the whole notion behind that is if you have too many choices, it actually paralyzes you and you can't make a decision. And here, us as Americans, we're very fortunate that we have so many choices that I wind up saying every night, hey kids, what do you want for dinner? And everybody is paralyzed. And you thought about that particular problem and how to solve it.
Exactly. And our solution that we wanted to really push is our customer-centric application called AHA. Mm-hmm. And what this will be doing, kind of taking some models of the business from Grubhub, Uber Eats. However, the biggest difference is that we are making this customer-centric. We're understanding who our customer is as a person, as a consumer, and by doing that, we can collect all this data and really, really drive a proper tailored food
Right.
recommendation experience.
And utilizing machine learning, kind of like how we were talking about Amazon before, they kind of give you choices and stuff like that. The more that it knows about your eating habits and preferences, it can start to make recommendations, right?
Exactly.
And then eliminate me having to make all of those choices. Or you can just put out, get sushi for me, and then it'll just solve all my problems.
Right, precisely.
Yep.
And it's great that you're actually thinking about solving a problem as opposed to creating a problem to solve, right? As we were saying before.
Right. They missed that part.
Yeah. So what is it like, doctor, to have like people, the younger generation, I really think get maligned. They're like, they're not interested. They want too much flexibility. They don't understand hard work. I don't see that a lot. I see some of it, but I saw it in my generation, right? If you take 10 of your friends who were successful, who overachieved, who thought was going to be president of the United States, wasn't president of the United States. And so every generation, you take it out, I think percentage-wise, it's the same. What do you find with the younger generation?
It's similar. I don't make any stereotypes about the entire generation and their work ethic, but I will tell you that, Silver and Jaslin here are great examples of high achieving people. They've probably always been this way. They push themselves hard, they study hard, they work hard, they put themselves into the project, they found a great problem, they researched it and wrote a fantastic research paper about it. And they put in a lot of hours. It was quite evident to me. And I see that every semester. I'll see students who put themselves into it. My course is an elective course for most students, so they don't need to take my course. They want to take my course. So I get a high percentage of students who immerse themselves and put in the necessary work.
I wouldn't know why anybody wouldn't take your course. To me, it would be my first choice.
All right, so let me ask you this then, Jaslin and Silver. Why did you take the class, and how does it help you learn how to think like an adapter and innovator as opposed to just going through life?
Wait, hold on. Yeah. Do you have a book named
I might have a book called The Adapters available right now at Amazon.com. Let me install. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Whoop. There we go. Buy The Adapters right now on Amazon.com. Of course, I co-wrote that book with my associate, Sean Worker. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you setting me up for the plug over there. So answer the question, folks, if you don't mind.
Because you can't remember the question.
No, I will re-tee up the question. What does it taught? How does the class taught you about thinking like an innovator and adapter?
Well, I first heard about the course because I am part of this club, HFTP, and he was actually a guest speaker, Dr. Rippee, and he talked about certain innovations in the hospitality industry, such as Airbnb, Uber, etc. So I thought it was really interesting. And then he started talking about the whole course that he's going to teach later on. And I thought it was really interesting. This course is primarily for people who have masters or they have an engineering degree. I am not a master's student. I study hospitality, but I'm still a senior and, or technically a junior. I didn't meet the prerequisites. So I reached out and I said, well, I really want to take this course. And there's not a lot of electives offered. So I love the whole premise of it, of trying to find a problem and finding innovations, because I know the hospitality industry isn't necessarily known for being very innovative. And so it was really interesting to research on these different innovations that we could potentially implement. With that being said, though, I think I've always wanted to run my own business. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I thought this course was perfect for me.
Silver?
So my background kind of, instead of being in the hospitality, I'm actually a mechanical engineer. And I feel like the one thing all mechanical engineers at UNLV lack is thinking outside of our discipline. And having this course, this hospitality innovations course, bring that engineering mind into a completely different a completely different arena.
Right.
Allows us to adapt in ways that we've never thought before. Besides that, I've similar to what Jaslin was saying, I always wanted to kind of be my own boss. I take that upon my dad has always told me that was try not to work for someone, try to be your own boss.
That's awesome.
And so seeing him be his own boss, his own entrepreneur growing up, it's almost solidified this this desire to want to be my own boss, make my own business, and take on the hospitality industry in a way that I can also use my engineering experience as well.
That's really cool. So, Robert, that must make you feel really proud to help guide these folks to creating such interesting ideas with their own thoughts.
It's probably, I was telling Anthony this before, you know, I've had a long career with multiple major pivots in it. This is the most satisfying work I've ever done. To see and get the opportunity to interact with talented students like this and be there that moment when it clicks and they know what they're going to do. It clicked in their mind. It's not anything I told them. It was the convergence of what they knew academically, engineering and hospitality, and a problem, and they knew they had a solution. And that feeling, to me, to see that happen in them is one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had.
You know, it's interesting. Someone just asked me, Anthony, what do you want to do the next 10, 15 years? It's like, I'm doing it. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, don't you want to do this? I was like, no, I'm really happy. And I want to make sure that I'm influencing the younger generation. And again, not the younger generation, but a person that wants to learn to how to really pivot and really how to go through the pitfalls of this industry and avoid those pitfalls. I love the fact that you're a military officer, you're a fighter pilot, you were a big top executive in these casinos out here in Vegas, but you said, you know what, I could probably add more value to teaching than anything else. Will I make as much money? No. Will I be, will I be this hotshot fighter pilot, hotshot executive? No, but I'm going to do something more valuable. I'm going to be a professor.
Well, that feeds your soul.
On behalf of everyone, thank you. And if he was half the man you were, he'd still be doing it because we need him.
Listen,
we need him at NYU.
I wish I was half the man. I'm working on 18% right
fighter
now.
Pilot. You can still be a fighter pilot. They take 50-year-olds now.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, well, too bad I'm 51 now.
Who takes 50-year-olds?
The nursing home at AARP. That's pretty funny. All right, so
oh wait, I got it. What? Test pilot for wheelchairs.
I love that.
You do good at that.
I definitely want to get one of those little carts to go through the casinos on because I'm way too lazy to walk to the buffet. All right, Silver and Jaslin, what do you hope for the future? Ideally, I know you said you want to have you want to work for yourself, Silver, and that sort of thing, but are you going to be pursuing the AHA, or is this just kind of a stopover to ultimately what you want to do? Jaslin, you answer first, please.
Okay. Well, currently right now I actually work for Aristocrat and I intern.
And they're a gaming company focused on slot machines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes. So I currently work for them. They're a great company. I love the people and culture aspect of it, but we decided to just take on this opportunity of pitching our idea. And so far, a lot of people have been having great feedback on it. And some people actually reached out to us and said, well, we would love to kind of help you implement this idea. So maybe it could be something in the future, but what about you?
How'd you come up with the name AHA?
Oh, well, it's actually quite funny because this conference had this competition open for UNLV students. And it was like the last day to apply. And I was at a festival and I was like, I have to submit this email by tonight. I can't think of anything. So I just put AHA. And I just sent it. I sent the email.
Nice.
The moment brilliance.
That's how my parents actually thought of my name. They couldn't figure anything out. They kept saying, you got to fill out the form.
No, but I love it because I can, like Amazon, right? It's become a word in our vernacular. Google.
Yeah.
Like I could see AHA becoming that company that's just like was always there. It's like there's a guy in my neighborhood that invented Sweet and Low. I thought that was like air. It was just always there. Sweet and Low was always like inventing sugar. Sugar was always there, no? So AHA to me, when I listened to that name when you were presenting, I was just like, it's just so soothing and brilliant for what you want to do. Because like you're saying, it's like, what do you on Friday night, babe, what do you want to eat? I don't care. What do you want to eat? I don't care. And all of a sudden they go like, how about tacos? AHA. Tacos. I haven't had tacos in like 6 weeks. It's like when you come up with that, okay, oh wow, I didn't even think of that. We eat pizza, we eat Italian or whatever we do. And so that moment is when I go, AHA, I didn't think of it.
For the record, I had tacos 2 nights ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for
Hey, Tacos El Gordo, go check them out. You guys, anything else that you guys want to add over there?
What was the question before? It was
The future.
plans.
Other than that,
future plans.
I mean, you going full bore with this? Do you have any other ideas that you're baking, or any third option that you'd like?
So personally, I'm about to graduate with my mechanical engineering degree. Eventually, my kind of one of my end goals is getting my master's and then eventually my PhD, working in robotics.
Wow.
Yeah, big goals. However, it's been, oh man, like 20 something years. The only thing I know is education, academics. I want to get out of it for a little bit. And so I'm going to take a break. Once I graduate, I'm going to, I have a buddy of mine who actually opened up an investment company. I'm going to be learning algorithm trading, getting securities license, and then working as an agent for him.
Awesome.
Can I be your chauffeur when you're rich and
right.
famous?
Oh, absolutely.
No, that's my role.
It's her role. No, you're going to be too busy hiring.
He's going to be
chauffeurs, too.
chauffeuring you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on top of that, because I can almost do that anywhere in the world as long as I have internet. I want to get my dual citizenship to the Philippines and travel over there for an extended period of time, reconnect with my dad who's over there doing business.
So that's where your family heritage is from?
Yes, from the Philippines. And he wants me to almost, meet his partners, meet his investors, and take on the family business essentially and continue that growth.
I got a question for you guys that has nothing to do with what we were just talking about, but we've been talking about on this show for a long time, the rise of the digital nomad and how I think it's going to be more powerful than ever. You're in that group. If you had a choice to go into an office every day or stay at home or be anywhere in the world you want at any time.
I know the answer to that question.
Yes, but why? What does being a digital nomad mean to you while Anthony and I get all shadowy figures over here?
Little white balance issues.
Yeah.
So I think I would like to be anywhere in the world as long as I have internet access. Being able to work with that kind of freedom, I think, is amazing. Having almost that perfect work-life balance between experiencing the world while not having to be constrained to an office space to make ends meet,
right?
I think is liberating.
Do you all feel that you need to have a home, or could you just live in different places all of the time? Jaslin?
I feel like for me, I would need to have a home, but I have seen videos of people people my age just travel around the US in a van and just live like that. But I don't think I can do that. I don't think I'm that type of person, but I would definitely want to travel. And right now I'm actually working from home, and it's just so nice to not, I'm an introverted person. So it's so nice to not interact with people.
I know that too.
You know what's interesting? The first time I met you, I was just I was talking behind your back before. The first time I met you was what, 3 years ago?
2019.
What, you met her in 2019?
Wow.
The
Just
strat.
3 years ago. We've met several times, and I noticed a change. You were a lot more. You were wonderful today when you presented. You're a lot more confident. You were a little bit more, reserved when I first met you. So I really see that you're growing, and you're going to do great things in this industry.
Oh, thank you.
And
so
very
much.
rarely do I remember people's faces and where I met them, and I knew exactly where I met you because you made an impact, because you have that spirit of that you're just going to get stuff done.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I mean, I went back today and looked back at our pictures. So I have one from the strat in 2019. I have one from this year, and then I'm going to get another one. So I'm a big Anthony Milcurry fan.
Awesome. I love it. All right. We got to wrap this thing up.
Let's go.
All right. Thank you all so much for being here. Guys, just hang out. We're going to wrap up the show. Then we'll say some formal goodbyes to you later. Dr. Robert Rippee, Jaslin Estavillo, and Silver Mendoza-Matute. Yeah.
Sure.
All right, everybody. We'll get you guys off, and we're going to wrap up the show right now. Now, listen, guys. We know that you love watching us, but sometimes if you can't look at our pretty faces like Anthony is looking at me right now, well, you're going to want to check our audio feed over here. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere there are podcasts. Well, that's where you're going to find No Vacancy Live. If you want to talk to us individually, he's at Anthony Hotels, and I'm at Traveling Glenn. This is so nice being in a single one-shot with you.
Yes, how are you? It's good to see you.
Feeling great. I'm just very intimate. I'm not used to being so close to another human being. This is beautiful. All right, everybody. Remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and you be kind to yourself. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks for a great week of shows. Tomorrow, we'll be doing a Friday Night Audit, 2 p.m. Vegas time, 5 p.m. East Coast time. We'll be back next week with a full slate of shows. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere for the rest of the year, so you've got a lot more content to come for the rest of 2021. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.